Okay.
Let me check, Emily, we set to go?
Pleasure.
I had breakfast with your brother today.
My condolences to you.
Mayor, the mics are on and we're ready to go in 4 o'clock.
Okay, very good. If everyone will mute their cell phones, please. Welcome to the December 10th Beach Mountain Town Council meeting. I need a motion to call this meeting to order, please.
Motion?
Second.
Very good. Thank you. Also, we need to make an amendment for the consent agenda. And this is for Marty Marks for the Board of Adjustment.
He's not in the consent.
So I need a motion for that, please.
Motion.
Is that the consent?
Mayor, would you make that for 8.1?
Yeah.
8.1.
Yes.
That's correct, I'm sorry. 8.1. Boy, he was getting voted on before. We could have voted for it. So I need a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. Invocation, Cyclone?
Yes, sir. I'm sitting here today, sir.
Again. Still.
Thanks, sir. Merry Christmas, everyone. It's that time of year again. Our scripture of the day is from Book of Luke. But the angel said to her, "Do not be afraid, Mary. You have found favor with God, and you will give birth to a son, and you will call his name Jesus." You know, Christmas time's all the time special. We have feelings. We treat people better than we used to do. We're friendly, say hello, and kind. And I was just thinking about this time of the year. I've had the honor for about 25 years or so playing Santa Claus at Old Beach Mountain School. And I remember one time this man here on the mountain heard about it. He wasn't even on our list of donors, and he walked up with tears in his eyes and pulled out his wallet and pulled out 5 $100 bills and handed it to me and said, "Please buy some toys for these kids." He said, "I grew up poor," so I remember a couple of Christmases, I didn't have anything. And he said, "I don't ever want to know of another child that goes through what I did." And then another time Karen and I were get the toys for the kids at Toys R Us in Johnson City. We had about 4 big old buggies filled with toys. I didn't know if I had enough money to pay for it or not. And some lady came up and was kidding us about how many grandkids we must have. So I told her what we did. She opens up a purse and pulls out every dollar she has and gives to me. These are strangers there. It's just this time of the year, I guess, is the only one. And Jesus encouraged us to be kind and help one another. He said, "Inasmuch as you have done it for the least of these, so have you done it unto me." And I bet most of you, like me, you look back and you've been on that least of these part of that, people that helped you. And probably, if we really think about it, there's been some times we've been on the other end, we have helped somebody, didn't even realize it. Reba McEntire, one of my favorite singers, had a song, Christmas song, and it's called "A Christmas Guest," and I'd like to share that with you, the words to it. She said, "It happened one day near December's end. 2 neighbors called on an old friend, and they found his shop so meager and lean, and made gay with the thousands of bows of green. And Conrad was sitting with his face shine, when he suddenly topped and stitched a twine. And he said, 'Old friends, at dawn today, when the cock was crowing the dawn away, the Lord appeared in a dream to me, and he said, I'm coming, your guest to be. So I've been busy with feet astir and strewing my shop with branches of fir. The table is spread and the kittle is shined, and over the rafters the holly is twined. Now I'll wait for my Lord to appear, and listen closely so I'll hear his step as he nears my humble place. Now I'll open the door, look on his face." So his friends went home and left Conrad alone, for this was the happiest day he had known. For long since his family had passed away, and Conrad had spent many a sad Christmas day. But he knew with the Lord as his Christmas guest, this Christmas would be his dearest and best. So he listened with joy in his heart, and with every noise he would rise with a start, and look for the Lord to be at his door, like the vision he had a few hours before. So he ran to the window after hearing a sound, but all he could see on the snow-covered ground was a shaggy beggar whose shoes were torn and his clothes were ragged and worn. But Conrad was touched, and he went to the door and said, "You know, your feet must be frozen and sore. I have some shoes in my shop for you, and a coat that will keep you warmer too." So with grateful heart, the man went away. But Conrad noticed the time of day, and he wondered what made the Lord so late, and how much longer would he have to wait. When he heard a knock at the door, he ran to the door, but it was only a stranger once more. A bent old lady with a shawl of black, with a bundle of kindling on her back. She asked only for a place to rest, but that was reserved for Conrad's special guest. But her voice seemed to plead, "Don't send me away. Let me rest for a while on Christmas Day." So Conrad brewed her a steaming cup and told her to sit at the table and sup. But after he left, he was filled with dismay, for he saw the hours were slipping away, and the Lord hadn't come as he said he would, and Conrad felt sure he had misunderstood. When out of the stillness he heard her cry, "Please help me and tell me, where am I?" So again he opened the friendly door and stood disappointed as twice before. It was only a child who had wandered away and was lost from her family on Christmas Day. Again Conrad's heart was heavy and sad, but he knew he should make the little girl glad. So he called her in and wiped her tears and quieted all her childish fears. Then he led her back to her home once more. But as he entered his own darkened door, he knew the Lord was not coming today, for the hours of Christmas had passed away. So he went to his room and he knelt down to pray. And he said, "Dear Lord, why did you delay? What kept you from calling on me? For I wanted so much your face to see." When left in the silence, with a voice he heard, "Lift up your head, for I kept my word. 3 times my shadow crossed your floor. 3 times I came to your lonely door. I was a beggar with bruised cold feet. I was a woman who gave something to eat. I was a child on the homeless street. 3 times I knocked, and 3 times I came in. And each time I found the warmth of a friend." Would you bow your head, please? Lord, we thank you so much for the opportunity to come here today. We thank you for all of your people that are hurting so in our area, and pray, Lord, you'll help them. We ask, Lord, you be with not only our leaders, but leaders all over the world during these tumultuous times. And we pray, Lord, you continue to bless the United States of America and Beech Mountain. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm going to change things up a little bit. I normally like opening up the meeting with a couple positive notes, and I failed to do so. So I want to mention that last Thursday, Thanksgiving, a group of about 300 people came up from Seaboard, North Carolina. A buddy of mine is in their hunting club, and they brought about 40 mobile kitchens, and they cooked. They gave out 6,000 plates to Avery County. So just wanted to give a shout out to the Seaboard Lions Club. Also, this organization, it's unreal, the ministry that they provide. One of the gentlemen heard that Beech Mountain was doing Shop for a Cop, and he asked me to speak to the group, and I did. And I didn't know where it was going, but they handed me a check for $6,000, and it goes to the kids in Avery County for Shop with a Cop. Every child, you got to go through a screening program. The children get $300 for Christmas. The police are going to pick them up in a bus, take them to either Walmart or Target, and every child will get $300. So the police department's goal was $3,000. We're up over $30,000 now. So it's, for those that have been involved in it, there is a Christian ministry group that is based in Beach Mountain, and they gave substantially as well. So thanks to all that have donated and been involved. Also, a buddy of mine is Senior VP for Lowe's Home Improvement, and he contacted me after the storm. He assisted us with the generators that we purchased and some other items, but he said that they wanted to provide Christmas to several families in Avery County that had nothing. And so yesterday I went to Lowe's, and they provided 2 families with their Christmas wish list, which was pretty gratifying as well. The amount of outpouring from our community and our leaders and just, everyone that's been involved has been a miracle that these folks have stepped up to the plate. Also, I know that we have a lot of app folks that support Appalachian athletics, and today I was at a meeting at App and had the opportunity to meet the head coach, and pretty impressive resume. So I hope he's going to be at the next council meeting in January. All right, we'll get back on track.
That's for people who still have eligibility for football? We can recruit, is that what it is?
I don't know, that's Chief Budney that. I'm staying out of that one. Okay, public comment. This is time for the public to address their elected officials on issues not on the agenda. The town council is interested in hearing concerns. However, speakers should not expect council action or deliberation on items brought forth during the public comment period. So, first person here is Fred. Fred, town council comments? Public comments?
Come on up.
Come on up.
Art kind of said, no, it's you again, you want to talk. And I appreciate the opportunity, but there's been a lot of thanking of all the outpouring of generosity. And I want to thank people in Beach Mountain community in particular for all of their donation to our organization, Friends of Beach Mountain. And I don't know whether you all know the amount, but we're over $100,000 has been donated to our group. And we used to, in the past, we were lucky if we had $1,000 in the bank. And the idea was, it was born to help people on Beach Mountain and folks that work here that needed help and everything. And the outpouring's been special. And so I sometimes think about, where you live and the folks you run into daily, and you don't think about it, but living on Beach Mountain is wonderful, and there are a lot of wonderful folks here. And of course, one of them, Cyclone, and he does the Christmas thing out back, and he briefly touched on it, but he and Mike Harmon are the ones that Mike is kind of, may someday wear a Santa Claus outfit, and but they were thankful that Cyclone went this year. Okay, and I got to say something about, every day I pass the sign up here that says conserve water. And as I've said, I still want to be able to brush my teeth and flush my toilet. And I hope we'll always be able to. But it is a serious matter. And part of my concern is, and I know Bob thinks about it and tries to figure it out, but I personally won't do anything I can to get the word out about it. And I don't know what Fred's General Mercantile can do, but I'd like to, do my part to, whether it's handing out some flyers or, I don't know what kind of list we have of STRs, but I think that's where our concern lies, is trying to awaken those people and let them know, and we don't want to scare anybody or whatever, but, not just now, but always we need to conserve water. So anyhow, I'm offering to you, Bob, if there's any way Fred's can help, please let us know, so.
We'll get you something to
And
put on
I've
the
got,
counter.
Bernie's even volunteered to help do it, so, but we got Sean here, so we don't need, but anyhow, thank y'all and appreciate y'all, and we're lucky to be on Beach Mountain.
Thanks for
Okay.
Thank you, Brad. Chief?
I'd like to bring up Parks and Rec Director Sean Royal to give an update to the community on the summer activities at Parks and Rec. Sean?
Well, some of this is going to just be echoing everything that Mayor said and Fred said. But one thing I want to do is kind of get up here and talk about our Angel Tree program and lend a special thank you to our town. Same thing, we've had a lot of people to reach out and go above and beyond. 10 years ago to this year is when we restarted this program. It had been laying low. A lot of this started actually from the Bretts. Karen and Cyclone started this on the old Beach Mountain community, and then we kind of took over and did our Beach Mountain thing. Anyway, this past year we've been working with High Country Caregivers. We had 35 angels. We had people calling in and say, give us more. So we ended up filling more. Yesterday we sent out 4 SUVs, absolutely packed full, enough to where Santa Claus could not even haul this. So it was just really impressive. As a parent, I'm sitting here looking at it and thinking of kids who wouldn't have Christmas. And if it wasn't for our town, there's a lot of kids who would not receive the gifts that they're getting. So just a big thank you to the town and the community for what they're doing, working with this program. Then shifting gears a little bit, next week on Thursday, December 19th, we have our Christmas parade. So hope everybody can be out for that. Line up the streets. They'll have all the fire trucks, police cars, and dump trucks that we can find. So it'll be a lot of fun. Another thing, I would like to thank our TDA. They have given us a substantial amount of funding for more Christmas lights. As you leave, you'll see this building. I think you can see it from outer space. So all the town has, a lot of people don't know it's Parks and Rec staff that kind of handle all the Christmas lights, but a lot of this is about the fun about the TDA as well. So thank you to them for what they've done, and hopefully everybody enjoys the lights. Get out and walk through the walking trail. It's really, really nice. So that's about it. But yeah, thank you for everything you've done.
Thanks, Sean.
Thanks, Sean.
Mayor, the next item, if you will, I'd like to recognize an employee. If I could ask Josh Cordell to come up here and stand here while I embarrass you. So Mayor, Council, and public, with the storm, Helene, we had a number of employees who just went above and beyond, did some spectacular things. I talked to you last month about the dispatcher who worked 72 hours straight. We had to almost carry her out of here. And we had helicopters moving employees around and things like that. We had police officers that found a way to get to work. But I want to recognize Josh tonight, specifically for what he did, but on behalf of all the employees that just went out above and beyond and out of their way. His story is kind of interesting, and I'd like to. It's lengthy. I'd like to read this to you. We had a Mark and Kathy Brown live on Sweetwater, and sent it to me, but I think they sent it to Council Will. A very lengthy email about all the things that occurred to them during the storm, but I pulled out the piece about Josh. So Josh has been with us 9, almost 10 years, works in the utility at the water plant. And Mark Brown sent this to me, and I'm going to read verbatim for what he said. In the middle of his email, he talks about the devastation at his house. He couldn't get out. He had no water. The road was gone. He and his wife felt isolated, things like that. So in the middle of his email, and I'll quote, he says, "So we return this week and have been truly amazed at what the town has done in such a short time to make the area safe, accessible, and livable. We have driven around much of the town, and the road repair, cleanup, and water availability has been phenomenal. On the day after the hurricane, Kathy and I were walking up Buckeye Creek Road trying to see if there was any way we could get out. There was not. And we saw someone walking towards us. It was Josh Cordell. He told us he had parked at the dump and walked several miles down Buckeye Road to try to get to work at the water plant. He had to climb over and through about 50 trees along the way and then hike behind what was left of Shane Park to use the same footbridge we used to get to the water plant. He told us he was determined to get to work so he could help everyone on Beach Mountain. He promised to tell others about our situation and not to worry, help would come. You have a fine employee in Josh when faced with the daunting task of what to do when the hurricane hit and the possibility of any vehicle getting him to work. He literally hiked mile after mile in dangerous conditions to get to his job to pitch in and help us all as the town residents. Quote, he is to be commended for his efforts and concern. Josh reflects the type of employee we have here in the town. Many employees worked throughout the storm not knowing if their homes and family were safe. So Josh, I wanted to bring you up before the council. You did hike through the woods, and not only did he get to the water plant and help run the plant and get our water back together, he was out doing leaks, hydrant flushing, rescuing people. You went back to Mark and Kathy's house and helped them out. So I just want to say on behalf of all the town employees, you epitomize what it means to be here at Beach Mountain, and I appreciate everything you've done, and I wanted to recognize you in front of the town council.
Just quickly, like, I'm the one that gets to stand here and take the credit, but there's just a lot of people, even at the water plant, that done much more than I did. And, those guys work really hard every day. I wish, they could get the same recognition, whether they want it or not. They deserve it. But thank y'all for providing a stable work environment, a good, a place that we look forward to coming to work. Thank y'all for providing that. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you, Josh.
Hey, Josh, I'll buy you a steak Friday morning at Buckeye. 10 o'clock. All right, item 6, consent agenda. Need a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
Any discussion? Vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Item 7, old business. Item 7.1, ordinance to, I need a motion for the ordinance to amend the kitchens and guest suites.
Motion?
Second.
Any discussion?
We've discussed this plenty of times.
We have, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Item 7.2, ordinance to, I need a motion to accept the ordinance to amend the off-street parking.
Motion?
Need a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Very good. Item 7.3, I need a motion to accept the Lake Coffee Engineering presentation.
Motion.
Second,
Second?
and discussion.
Mayor, we've got Benji Thomas here, the principal of West Consultant. He's our engineer for the Lake Coffee project. Last month, I gave you his update, 200 and some pages, and said we would bring him here today to go through the summary and answer any questions you may have regarding that packet. I know you all went through it word by word.
Word by word.
And,
Every word.
And, but what Benji and I want to be able to do is show you what's been done. It appears like, nothing's happening since we drilled holes out there. A whole lot has been done, and we're moving forward. The important thing is the funding has been secured. We've secured funding for this project. Now we just have to get it designed, permitted, and constructed. And obviously with the impact to Buckeye Lake Coffee is even more important. So with that, I'll bring Benji up and turn it over to him.
You gonna read this to us?
Yeah, I'll be glad to.
Thank God there's a lot of pictures.
Well, thank you for having me. Yeah, I'll be very brief unless, of course, you all have questions. We'll take as much time as need to address them. But just the cover letter to the manager, you have that. I'll hit a few highlights from that, and then we'll go to questions. So as the manager mentioned, last January, the geotechnical investigation was completed, all the drilling of holes, the report was issued, and some of the big takeaways from that report were, it's probably not a big surprise, especially to those of you who live here, is mainly rock. And where it's not solid rock, it's deteriorated rock, sandy type soil. So it's very poor in that it's not suitable to move and compact to make an impervious dam. And even the areas that would be excavated and what's remaining underneath that would be porous. So you got a lot of porous soil that will seep and when you fill it up with water. So like I said, it wasn't a surprise, but obviously it was confirmed. And then with that report, you have a better idea of the quantity of solid rock versus movable, deteriorated rock. So all that was very important, but that did begin kind of the more detailed discussion of how are we going to make it a safe dam and try to hold the water that we'll capture in this reservoir. So after my team, it's about myself, JT Grimes out of Winston-Salem, and then of course Geotechnologies, the geotechnical engineer. We investigated some, realized we needed to bring in a little more expertise, so we went to a Smith Gardner out of Raleigh. They do geosynthetic liners and systems like that, like for landfills or reservoirs. So they did a brief study, just kind of looking at what might work, type of system, be many layers, different types of products, and then what would it maybe cost. So that's in this set of documents here. It would probably add in the neighborhood of $3 million to the project cost to fully line the entire reservoir and the face of the dam. The other alternative to that, or probably more than two alternatives, but the other major one we've looked at is to put what we call a secant wall. You use concrete or some kind of grout at the face of the dam, get down as deep as you can to either bedrock or just deep enough to where the water can't migrate underneath the dam, create a safety issue, and of course lose that much water. So that secant wall is not easy either. You're talking about drilling and filling with grout, and but we think that will be less cost. It would probably allow more seepage than the full liner. So that's the trade-off with that, is you would lose more water. But either one would be safe. Even as of today, we're still trying to get to a final recommendation and then move forward. We've reached out to a contractor in North Carolina who does this type of work and designs this type of work to really get their opinion. Also during this past few months, I've talked with town staff, talked to the resort, talked to Eggers Construction, who does a lot of maintenance work, and they were even after Helene dredging Lake Santis to get that debris out of there. So we're heavily leaning away from the idea of a full liner, because more than likely it would be damaged either by the storms and normal processes, and then of course in the dredging operation itself. You could, with a liner, use a vacuum type dredging operation. Obviously that would be more expensive on an ongoing maintenance standpoint. So that's why we're leaning away from that. The other major thing is just that the amount of soil to be moved somewhere
is significant, and as it says in the letter, approximately 100,000 cubic yards. So the town staff have been looking around at what properties the town might have. I've been just getting the word out, just asking contractors, and certainly if any of you all are aware of somewhere nearby that could use the soil, that will help reduce the cost. The further, or the closer you have to transport it. You have to talk to the resort about it. A few more, those are some of the big, major decision type things that are still in process, and I think we're about past them, so that we can proceed with final design. But other work that has gone on in parallel with that is the whole 401, 404 permitting process, Clean Water Act. Anytime you're changing water, whether you're putting dirt in the water, or you're redirecting streams, or even impounding surface water over top of a natural stream. So all those things require a permit from the DEQ of North Carolina and from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. So we've consulted with those staff extensively. Our sub-consultant EPR out of Asheville has helped with that. And they did finish all their delineation, the mapping of all the streams and wetlands that would be impacted by this project, which includes the force main, the pipeline from Lake Coffee to Buckeye Lake. So anything that would be impacted by this project has to be mapped. And then that map was submitted to the Army Corps of Engineers and DEQ, and we met on site and walked it, and they concurred with it. They agreed with what was mapped. That will then determine exactly how many square feet of impact is, and there will be fees associated with all those impacts with the final design of the project. Along with that 401, 404 permitting, you have to make sure you address any Endangered Species Act considerations and Historic Preservation Act. So with endangered species, you do have endangered bats known to be in the area, and I think council voted on that in recent meetings. So EPR has been authorized to proceed with a survey that will have that work done, so that when the actual permit application is turned in to the Army Corps of Engineers, they're going to turn around and ask U.S. Fish and Wildlife, will you review this project, and what are your comments? What needs to be addressed? So this will have that already addressed. Are there any bats, known bat hibernaculum within a half-mile radius of the project? And how can we protect that? It'll probably have something to do with times of the year that you're allowed to do the noisy work, blasting or hammering rock.
Don't want to wake up the bats.
Yep. And I've also worked along with the town staff on the funding, as Bob mentioned. That's both the DEQ earmark funding and the FEMA funding coming through the Department of Public Safety. So there's quite a bit of, especially on the FEMA funding. This has nothing to do with Helene. This was prior to Helene. It's actually COVID money. So quite a bit of paperwork goes along with that, and answering their questions. So that's the summary I had to touch on, but so I'll open it up. Any new
Is there
thoughts?
a liner at Lake Coffee?
Now, no.
Is there, so if you don't put a liner in, someone said that there's X amount of water that you lose? Is that correct?
Correct. I mean, I don't have a calculation, but yeah, just the fact that it's poor soil, it's going to migrate down into the groundwater or even under the dam and out of the toe of the dam.
Is there any way to tell what's being lost in Coffee and Santis now?
Nothing's measured there now.
No questions.
Sorry. You were building up to it.
Good question.
So there's been no measure of lost water there? That,
No, I don't, other than the pumping and we did, at the beginning of this project, we were, checked all known data. The state had very little, but both the resort and the club keep records of how much they pump out of those lakes. So we had that number to go by.
then as far as water coming into those lakes, all you can do, there's no stream gauges, so all we can do is estimate based on the square miles of drainage area. So when we have done a model of how the combined lake would operate over the years and through theoretical droughts. If you kind of look, there's a stream gauge on the Watauga River. That's really the closest one in this basin. And that's what we use to, that's of course a much larger drainage basin, many more square miles. But you just kind of take that and scale it down to what you have here and look at the history since that gauge has been in place, which was from the 1940s, I think, or at least 1950s. So you can kind of see how the different droughts over the decades, you can just mimic that here. So we did that modeling, which shows, this building this reservoir will help you immensely to get through droughts. But all that, that model just assumes how much water's coming in, the pumping going out to the three uses, the club, the resort, and now the drinking water. But as far as seepage, there's not anything other than a theoretical calculation.
So if we don't install a liner, I don't want to say safe, because there may be some repercussions on the back end. But if you don't put a liner in, then that will potentially save, would you say $3 million?
Right, we would still put a liner on the face of the dam, and then this secant wall right at the base of the face of the dam. That will help a lot with the seepage. It will help protect the dam, make it safer. As far as, and we'll try to, there will be a drainage system. All dams, all earthen dams have some seepage, period. And you have to control that, release it in a safe manner, so you have perforated pipe and gravel around it, a network of that to capture that and get it out to the toe of the dam in a safe manner. We can try to funnel all that captured drainage into 1 meter, and that way we will have that going forward. And we can count that toward our minimum release. One of the early things in this project that took a while was just asking the state of North Carolina, if we build this dam, how much water are you going to make us release every day downstream? So they finally came up with a scheme for that. So if we put a meter in that measures all water released, including the seepage, then we can count that toward that minimum.
So is there another municipality that you guys can reach out to get advice or get some numbers on, this is what we did with a project that's similar to what we're doing, and be able to utilize that information to take some of the guesswork out of what could or could not potentially happen here?
Certainly, we can do that. Yeah, and Mr. Grimes is working on, he's done a lot, like Siler City was one major project he did. I'm sure he's done many others. But to your point, yeah, not sure which of those, if any, were in the mountains. So that's a good idea, and we can reach out to others.
There's gotta be someone else that's done a project comparable to this that we can get some feedback on. I mean, because once this lake goes in, there's no turning back.
That's correct. And that's, I think the bigger input on that decision is going to be talking to this contractor and to others. Because it's not just a matter of how much water net usable water you'll have, it's the cost. Are we actually going to save money by not putting in this liner? Because there's one reason not to do liner is the whole issue with dredging, right?
Yeah,
So you hate to spend all that money and then actually get damaged and not work.
exactly.
Because then you might as well not use have a liner.
Exactly. But then the other consideration is this secant wall we're talking about actually going to cost more than this liner. Then it makes it so that's, in my mind, that's the next thing we need to focus on is get a better handle what that secant wall will cost.
I mean, a lot of this, I mean, it's outside of my wheelhouse, but many times as I and probably you guys have been to Lake Coffee, it doesn't seem like that seems like the water's been fairly, correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, but it seems like the water's been fairly consistent over the
Water level.
water level over the past number of years.
Well, both those lakes, Santas and Coffee, have a open release at the end, goes down to Lower Pond Creek. it's almost always flowing.
Yeah.
But there's got to be some leaking out the bottom just by, the weight of the water.
Sure.
I mean, Wes, my concern is the cost versus the reward. We spend $8.2 million to put this liner in, and, first day, somebody goes down there, we get a pinhole, and, a pinhole on these liners creates a huge, a huge problem, which costs a lot of money to fix.
Yes.
And I'm on the fence as to why we even need to put this liner in. If we have seepage, we have seepage. Yeah, of course, we don't want more going out that's coming in, but, if we gotta, mud the bottom or whatever, I just don't see enough information right here as to our options and what, if we go with a liner, I just see problems down the road.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, yes.
It just opens us up to some big expenses down the road. If we have leakage, we have leakage. But that, it doesn't cost us anything to have leakage, all right? So this is what I'm struggling with. Now, the Seacon wall, yeah, most dam heads, you have seepage, and sure, we want to try to keep as much water in as we can, but there's got to be a point of the cost versus the reward. So, we need to get a better handle on that, because as it stands right now, if somebody put me to vote, I would not go for a liner. I just think it's gonna add too many problems down the road. So if that's not it, what is? And, like I say, we got Coffee and Santa's there now, they have no liners, they have no mud, they're just naturally, somebody dug a hole 50 years ago, and they're still there. So why wouldn't it be the same if we do a new lake?
Right, and I tend to agree with you. Yeah, I appreciate your honest feedback. That's good.
Yeah.
I go back to what I said a few moments ago about, if there's another municipality in North Carolina or in the mountains, or maybe not even in the mountains, if it's somewhere down the coast, and this is how they built it, just to be able to have some additional information with, what they did, what worked, and then asking if you had to make any changes, what would you change? And, take some of the learning curve out. I don't know if a lake, I would assume a lake is gonna react different up here than it would at the coast. Everything's different,
Yep.
soil and rock, but I think if we could compare apples to apples, again, find a municipality that was in the mountains that's done a project similar to this, and get some feedback from them.
Yeah, I'll certainly do that. But do keep in mind, it is a unique project in that it's in the mountains, like you say. We're going to be using it for 3 uses, so we'll be putting it to the test. But that's the reason we're, ever since the beginning, town manager and other, it's given me the mandate. We need as much water as we can get out of this project. We need the water, and so that's what it's all about. Whereas a lot of mountain lakes are more just for recreational, just for aesthetics. So this is irrigation and snowmaking and drinking water.
Well, and then the other thing about this liner, you gotta put mud on top of it to keep it down. So you're gonna decrease the volume in the lake by doing that.
That's correct, yes.
Does the Globe have any liners?
We haven't, no, we have no liners.
No.
I mean, I've had a little experience with liners and building golf courses in Florida. And there we do it to try to keep the water out of the lakes, because you get it from underneath. Here, we're looking for seepage down there, they're looking to prevent the water coming in.
Well, he got kicked out of Florida, so this
Yeah.
reason. He's up here.
Bothering all you guys.
So my question would be, are we at risk in doing this project, combining the 2 bodies of water, that we could create a greater seepage issue and that we could lose more water than we could retain?
Good. Yeah, and I'm not the geotechnical person, but I would say that is a possibility. Yeah, we start excavating down further, may get to some veins of rock
that would cause a
Would need
greater
to- yeah, and that-
seepage issue without
Some
the
things
liner
like that
we
will
don't-
be discovered during construction that may have to be addressed.
Right,
Yes.
and then my second thing is I just wanna make sure I'm following where the water flows from. So this water, is this come kind of like from up from the skiway area, down that creek? Is that where a big return of it is?
Over Pond Creek.
So,
It's about equal the two, so like Coffee gets very little
Perry Park.
water into it, but Santis gets the two major prongs of West Fork and the main stem of Pond Creek.
So I'm just thinking snow melt wise, the resort's pumping water up to make snow melt wise, it's coming back down
Yes,
through
it
that
does.
watershed.
And
So
we put that
you're
in
really
the law.
recovering it, right?
It does.
Okay.
Where are we in the permitting stage? We haven't even looked at permits yet, have we?
Yeah, well, like I said, the biggest one we've been focused on is the 401-404. So a lot of preliminary work toward turning in that individual permit application is being done. So as soon as we get the roughly 50% design drawings, enough to where the Corps of Engineers can see exactly every square foot of impact that we propose, we can turn that in. The other major one would be the dam safety permit. We've had a virtual meeting with the North Carolina Dam Safety Engineer just to show concept and everything, get their feedback. We went through the decision process. It will be a high hazard dam. It will be 55 feet approximately. They're over the 50-foot threshold. So it'll have to therefore meet the higher hydraulic requirements. I think it's the 2/3 probable maximum precipitation. So,
So you're saying because we're 55, we're over 50, so is that 5 foot enough to get us in that? Should we even look at that, getting in the next category by doing, like raising it 5 foot more?
well, so that, again, back to the risk and reward question, if we kept it at below 50 feet, that would, you would save some money on your outflow structure. So that biggest flood you can imagine coming through, trying to safely pass that and not damage the dam, that's the question. What is that biggest imaginable storm? So the higher the dam is, the bigger storm they want you to imagine. So we could lower the dam, save some costs on that outflow structure, and obviously some costs on the dam itself. But the trade-off is you
Lose the water.
that. You got roughly 6 acres of surface area that we want to create, and every foot is about 2 million gallons. So you lose a lot of volume when you start dropping that dam.
And I know I read it, but what are we looking at volume wise?
30 to 40 million gallons. A lot of that will depend on
How
a
far?
liner, like we said. If we don't have a liner, that'll save some, or create some more volume. Really, like the cost is going to be a big thing. The rock, you start excavating rock and hauling it off. That's a huge cost for,
Yeah. How much rock, where we hit rock, how much further do we have to go?
That depends, like, so
Yeah.
on the south perimeter, that's where it would be the deep, and there's a sewer line in there. So the current design I have now is to leave some of that alone, because we're gonna have to relocate the sewer line, and it's solid rock. So you're talking about a lot of cost for that
Yeah.
extra volume there. In my opinion, that's not worth excavating that area, but there'll be others, even just kind of where the two lakes meet each other now, where you park now, there's rock in there.
What are you gonna do with the rock that you pull out? You gonna store it and use it for a future project, or are you gonna give it away?
We need to run an advertisement.
That's up to me. I'll take care of it. It's 10,000 truckloads.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's if we don't have to bring in mud, right?
It won't leave the mountain. Can't afford it.
Yeah.
And we're working on a plan now.
So what's the next step?
That's what I was gonna ask. What's the big
Sorry,
next,
I might be it every day.
what's the next big hurdle?
So like I said, a final decision on this secant wall, I feel, fairly 90% certain that's what we'll do. Then we just move right into full-blown design drawings so that we can submit them for these permits. So that's our intention for all this spring, winter and spring.
You mentioned about $3 million savings if we don't do the liner, but then it was additional for doing the Seacon wall.
Right.
What is, do you
That
have
was
any-
that's the purpose of those estimates that are in here. So
Yeah.
like I say in the cover letter, those are not fully detailed and not full scope, like this hauling off the dirt. Even the force main itself is not in those numbers. That was really just to look at
the lake?
the lake itself, the dam itself, and how to control the seepage. Look at two different options and just kind of compare them. That's where that $3 million difference came from.
I know Chief Putney's very detail oriented, but this being, it's probably been one of the larger projects that,
It'll be the largest project on this mountain,
and,
ever.
and our name's gonna be on this project, and I wanna make sure. that-
No, your name is.
I would like to have a
We're gonna have a
plaque
plaque.
there.
Yeah, exactly.
Got a plaque.
Abernathy Lake.
But, we need to make sure that we exceed our due diligence
Yeah.
when making these decisions, that 5 years from now or 3 years from now, we're not gonna come back and say, we screwed up, because there's no fixing it. That's why I like to have some history with someone else that's done this.
Yeah, but we get into this paralysis by analysis too, where we just study it and study it and study it, and we never get anything done.
Correct.
So, there's a balance there,
Yeah.
but it's a definite need of the community.
Oh, it's a needed project.
Yeah.
It's a needed project. But you guys have any more questions for Benji? No? Benji, got anything else?
That's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll see you at the next meeting.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, so on item 7.3, we had the discussion, there's no vote, correct?
Before we jump forward, can we just talk amongst ourselves as to what do you see going forward is gonna happen with this project? I mean, when are they gonna ask for decisions on liners, seeking walls, this kind of stuff? Or is that, and are those decisions that the council has to make, or gonna be made by,
I think it's a decision that the engineers need to make.
yeah, we're not
Um,
engineers.
With all due respect, the reason we hired professionals and they went out and hired even more detailed, I call them damn engineers. Those are the people that we're paying good money to tell us what needs to be done, and then present it to you, and if it makes sense, then my humble opinion is you go forward.
So we vote.
I can't design it. I have no clue. I know what makes sense, and I've got a good feel for it. My job was to put a team together, get the money, the funding, and find a place to put 10,000 truckloads of dirt. So that, if you want, and certainly you can, if you want to get into the weeds and make decisions on, types of pumps and pipes and liners and things, you certainly can, but then we're wasting our money on professionals.
Yeah, exactly.
So, if you, and I do, I feel very confident with the team we have. If you do, I say we listen to what they have to say, have them design it, bring it to you, and say, does this make sense? If you sit here and say, this makes sense, let's go forward.
But I think it's beneficial to be able to have Benji here and have a team here so that we can have a discussion and we do our homework, even though, as Chief Budden says, we're not experts, but at least we can educate ourselves and, make sure that we're making a sound decision.
No,
And
definitely.
but they are the experts, so,
Yeah,
but it doesn't mean that, again, that they can't come here and educate us and we can ask questions.
yeah. So, from now forward, what do you see? Another 6 months for doing design, or,
The team put together a schedule for FEMA. They have to report to FEMA. FEMA's funding the phase 1 of the project, about $1.9 million. And that schedule's pretty robust, and it shows all design work for the next 4 to 5, 6 months. So as that progresses, we get draws from FEMA to pay for it, and then I don't have that schedule with me, Benji, but
You're correct. We're showing, and this is I'm gonna be honest, it's an ambitious schedule. We're gonna try our best to repeat it, but it shows finishing up design and being ready to put it out to bid in September.
Of 25.
There's
There's a lot to be
of
done.
things that come into place to make that happen.
And I want to reiterate, we have federal funding to do this design. So it's not coming out of the town's coffers. And we're meeting the requirements of the federal government to do this. There'll be a point before September where it's gonna come to you in a package and we're gonna say, we want permission to go out to bid. And at that point, you should schedule enough time to ask the questions to see if it makes sense to you and you agree with what we're gonna do, and then we'll put it out to bid and see how much it really costs.
Would you have permits before bidding?
Ideally, yes.
We've got to pretty much, the way the construction industry is now, you've got to have everything done to get a bid that's legit, so that they're not waiting and costs are going up. So the idea is to get everything proposed, everything permitted, your approval, funding, and put it out to bid, get a good bid, award a bid, and start digging dirt.
Thank you.
So there's no vote on item 7.3?
No.
Okay. All right, new business. Item 8.1, I need a motion for board and committee appointments.
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Um,
88.
So, any discussions before we go to the vote? All right, so Alan, we're gonna start with you, and if you would, make a nomination for the planning board, and then we'll make a motion and vote, and we have to do this on each board member.
You can do this by board if you wish. That way you don't have to take a vote on each member. You can take multiple people at one time if you wish to do so.
Sure.
That may be more efficient.
Yeah, yeah.
If there's division, you may wish to take it individually.
All right, so, Alan, if you would, make a nomination
Okay,
for the, planning board, please.
okay, I'd like to make a nomination to appoint Tim Holland and Tyler Hunter to the planning board.
Okay,
Second.
all right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Planning board.
Board of Adjustment.
Art? would you do
Yeah,
the
I'd
board
like
adjustment,
to,
please? Make a nomination.
make a nomination on the Board of Adjustments for Fred France, Jennifer Leverack, and Therese Berry.
Need a motion?
Motion.
And, vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Board of Adjustment.
Mayor, before you move from the Board of Adjustment, you have a application for the
That's-
first alternate.
That's correct. So, Marty Marks, is the first alternate, but I assumed that you didn't mention Marty's name, so.
No, I didn't.
No, that was my fault.
No,
So we'll have to do this over again. So I'll make a nomination for Marty Marks as the first alternate on the Board of Adjustment, and I need a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Vice Mayor, you want to do the tree board?
Yes, for the Recreation Committee, I'd like to
I'm sorry.
make a nomination for Fred Fole, Barbara Paquette, Kathy Bobesh, and Carol Beckman to retain on the board.
Need a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Easy.
very good. So that passes. Alan?
Yes, for the TDA, the chair and the vice chair I would like to make a motion to appoint Don Douglas to the chair, and a motion to appoint Fred Fole as vice chair.
Need a motion?
Motion.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that passes. Okay,
Quick question for you, Mayor, sorry. Who was the vice chair on TDA prior to that?
Don.
Okay, very good. It just wasn't reflected in the minutes on the agenda.
Item 9, town manager staff reports. Chief, you're up.
Well, Mayor and Council, thank you. If you take a look at the financial reports, this is the second month of the new format. Begins on page 90 with Mr. Smith's report. Just of note on page 93, if you want to look at the summary, November, this is through October 31st. November is when we start receiving ad valorem taxes. So you'll see that our fund balance has dropped in October on this report. It has substantially increased, and you'll see that in the November meeting next. But this is the time of year that we use fund balance to operate the town while taxes are coming in. So if there's no questions on that, I'll go into my report. A lot of things here. The financial audit for last year has been completed and submitted to the LGC. It was due by December 1st, and I think the auditor got it in on midnight, the 30th or something like that. But it's in, and it's before them, as well as the TDA's audit. Water restrictions, you heard Fred Foles speak of that. We do have the signs up. We'll put together a flyer. We'll get that out. I'll get with Sean and Armando, and we'll get something on the website for the STRs to help with that. But currently we're at stage 2 due to the decrease in the storage capacity of Buckeye Lake from the storm. We've talked about, we believe it's about 40% impacted. You and the community should expect restrictions for several months until we can get remedial action at Buckeye Lake. Restrictions are going to continue, and depending on what the level of the lake is, they'll go from 2 to, hopefully won't go past 2, but they could. Rain isn't going to be the solution, because when it rains, Buckeye fills up, goes over the spillway. Our bucket, if you will, at Buckeye is 40% smaller, and yet we're pumping still 400,000 gallons a day out of the lake to treat it and send it forward. So the key is going to be conservation, and we're working to get that word out and improve on our daily usage. Speaking of Buckeye Lake, the engineers have been hired. It was Mattern and Craig that you approved last month. They've been here on site, a lot of movement. They've hired some subcontractors that'll be out on the lake Thursday morning doing a sonar mapping of the lake bottom. The idea is to identify what the impact underwater is, what has occurred from the storm. This method is deemed to be more valuable than putting a diver in the lake. This is quicker, and it also will give us a column of what the material is, whether it's rock, silt, mud, steel I-beams, floating docks, things like that. So that'll take about a week, and we'll have that data into the engineers so that they can begin assessing what the underwater damage is. A separate project, the water plant intake has been moved. The water going through the lake actually moved the concrete structure and bent the control rods that control those 3 valves, and we believe that the bottom intake is either occluded with silt or the valve has been broken, but that's going to require some demolition in that wet well and exposing those valve stems and figuring out what happened so that we can put together a repair. Next, on the drain to the lake, there's a large concrete drain underneath the dam that we have the valve, the gate at the bottom where the diver got stuck. That outlet structure is completely covered. You can't see it any longer. It used to be exposed, but the material that came down from the spillway, came off the mountain, has covered that drain. And so they're in there doing an analysis to determine how much is there, what's there, and what to do with it. Getting it out of there, I think I talked to you last month, FEMA, even they were perplexed, how are you going to get this stuff out of here? So that's all happening right now as we go forward with Buckeye Lake, trying to ascertain exactly what's wrong and then come up with a plan to fix it. That's not going to be a short-term solution. That's why we'll see water restrictions for the foreseeable future. We did have some damage to the spillway in the release mechanism. We believe some debris that's missing, some steel bridge beams, some bridges, some kayak racks, and other things are missing. We don't believe they went over the spillway because we did not find them down in the creek. So we believe they're in the dam. The way the lake. The way the lake is currently configured, everything slopes to that bottom drain, and the drain there's something wrong with it, which we don't know, but we believe some of the steel beams or some of the debris that came into the lake is lodged down there. So this ROV sonar should be able to tell us with some specificity what's down there, and then we'll devise a plan to get that out. So you'll be hearing about that for a while. To make matters worse, our well has been we have a reduced capacity. If you recall, the well was putting out about 100,000 gallons a day. We're down to 25,000 gallons a day. Bless you. More importantly, there's some contaminants in the water, specifically manganese. We're not really sure. We're absolutely not sure what happened or where that manganese is coming from. I met with the Hagerty team today to see if we could get some FEMA assistance on that well. Because we saw some of the impact prior to the storm, we're not sure if this is related or not. There may be no opportunity for FEMA help to do an analysis of the well to see what's wrong, but we're going to give it a try. Bottom line is, we have a reduced capacity in Buckeye, and now the well that we were relying on is greatly reduced to the point where if the contaminants are such that it's difficult to treat, the manganese and some other contaminants, we may have to shut the well off. So that just compounds the problem. On FEMA funding, actually this is some good news. I told you last month we got an advance of $1.9 million for our Category A, and that's debris, and that's the trees and all the things that are still on the side of the road. So we've received that funding, and we're using that to pay for the debris removal. And then today, we got approval for $826,000, again, more from FEMA for a Category B, and that is emergency response. That's what we did during the storm, buying generators, fuel, fix emergency repairs to roadways and culverts and things like that. So that funding stream is coming to fruition, and the team is very happy with that. And we still have the $3 million, I call it a line of credit, but that's not what it is, but that's how I understand it. It's a 0% pot of money that we can use for water infrastructure repairs through DEQ. It does not affect our FEMA process. We would pay it back with FEMA money. So this work that we're going to do in Buckeye Lake or to the water plant, if we need to, we can access this $3 million funding source to do that. So for the time being, we're good on our funding for this event. Under debris cleanup, Southern Disaster Recovery, SDR, has been a big disappointment. We've complained to the state. They're a state contractor that was bid through the state back in 2020. I may have explained this to you. They got a renewal in 23, but there was no increase in the cost per cubic yard. They just renewed the existing contract. Well, everyone knows that every cost has gone up since 2020, fuel, so that they cannot find good contractors that will haul the debris at that rate. They went to Florida, Hurricane Milton, and they're down there at $15 a yard, and we're paying $9 a yard. So we got approval from FEMA to increase that per yard funding, and I reached out to SDR and said, look, I need this cleaned up by December 1st, and we'll pay you $15 a yard to do that, and they turned it down. So our Public Works Director, Daniel Davis, works daily with the subcontractors for the debris hauling. And what you've seen are pickup trucks with trailers with wooden sides driving around the town hauling debris. And as of yesterday, they for almost 80 days, they've hauled only 374 loads off the mountain for about 15,000 cubic yards of debris. And there's probably 10 to 15 times that debris here on the mountain. We've reached out to the state, we've reached out to the county, we've looked at other options and opportunities, and to be honest with you, we don't have a good solution. They're here, they're hauling it, but they'll be hauling debris, you know,
Till the spring.
for quite a while. The Charter Hills Road landslide, the engineers, again, were on site. They're doing some geotech investigation. There was some concern that the land above the road was moving as well. And so they're doing that analysis, and we'll be coming up with a repair proposal. We'll have to go out to bid for that. And so that road will be closed for the foreseeable future. We won't, by the time we get a design and we get out to bid, we get a contractor here, it'll be springtime. Just so you know what's going on
Bob, one thing on that, is there any way we can get better barricades out there? I was out there today, and people just driving right through it. I know we've said we're gonna find one down in the creek, but it's-
We can, I mean, we'd have to put concrete out there and probably pin them to what's left of the roadway.
We did today.
Did you? I mean, they're moving.
Thank you.
They're moving our barricades
I know.
and throwing them off the hill and driving by, and, you know, the road is still falling.
Yeah.
So, you've got concrete out there today?
took concrete this afternoon.
Thank you. Let's see, Lake Coffee, you heard about it, that today. That study is underway. Kate Gervais is putting together a public outreach to the almost 4,000 property owners that are affected. We're mailing out a letter. She and Benji have been working on that, just to let them know that there'll be people crawling around looking for bats. And we'll have that done here shortly. So the ski resort opening day went very well. We counted over 4,000 vehicles passing Town Hall to go to the resort. That's one direction, so that's 4,000 trips one way.
That explains a lot.
Pretty big impact. I see a repeat of, well, that's good news, first of all, because we need people here, we need the tourism. If you look at your TDA report, it looks very dismal. So we need folks to come up here and spend their money. We're going to have a repeat of last year's traffic issues. So the police chief has been working to come up with a better towing policy and signage and things like that, and we'll work through that. But know that there was 4,000 vehicles came up the mountain on a Saturday morning. Sledding Hill, Sean didn't speak about it, but they're using Snowmax. I told you about that last month, with good results. We're getting more snow with a little less water, and it seems to be lasting. I mean, usually after a couple of days it would be grassy, and there's quite a bit of snow still on the hill today. Sean's direction is to, as soon as the weather is conducive, make snow so that we've got it here for the Christmas holiday, and they're doing a really good job. He did tell you about the parade is December 19th at 3 o'clock. Make sure it's 3 o'clock, not 4. We moved it ahead to facilitate the resort getting out at 4. And that's come snow or shine. So if you'd like to be in the parade or you need information, contact the Parks and Rec Center for more information. And Mayor, that's my report.
Chief, when you were mentioning about the wood debris, would it be possible to maybe reach out to some of these logging companies that have these short pup trailers, and then they got a knuckle boom on top to be able to help facilitate getting some of this?
No. The knuckle boom is the problem. Those units, when they came up here, tore down the power lines. So that's why there's trailers. and a track hoe. But more importantly, because we have a contract with SDR, I tried to bring in the Army Corps. I tried to bring in another company. And although we could probably get away with that, there's no place to haul it. The haul site has to be permitted by the state. The haul site that our debris is going to and is permitted by SDR, and it's in Elk Park. And we reached out to them, Daniel reached out, they will not allow anyone else to bring debris to their permitted site.
Wow.
So we're kind of between a rock and a hard spot.
Absolutely. Okay, also, our short-term rentals, being able to educate the folks that are coming up the mountain. Are we reaching out to realtors and informing them of our water shortage and communicating to them any, or is there any literature that's going to STR homes, or how are we?
Well, the realtors know. Most STRs are not associated with a realtor. We do have a list. We're and help me out if I'm wrong here, but we're a little constrained on how we can use that list. So we'll put it on the website. We'll get some material to Fred's. We'll get some material in the visitor center, and I'll have Kate do some public announcements. You heard the radio spots for the business community. We'll do something like that for the water. If I can do direct mail to the SDRs, if I'm told I can do that, we will.
Yeah, I don't want to throw Jimmy under the bus, but whatever Fred does with educating our visitors, maybe Jimmy can do the same with some flyers that you can put at the counter or wherever. But
Can we reach directly out to VRBO and whoever else, Airbnb, the company
We can.
itself?
Sure.
And say, hey, we need your help
Yep.
in communicating to properties on Beach Mountain.
Yep.
We got this crisis going on.
We can do that.
I mean, it's kind of a double-edged sword. I mean, we're trying to scare people by, we're out of water, but we also come.
Yeah.
that's got to be delicate.
And hopefully
Yeah.
the STR's got the sewer hook.
Well, we've got to thread that needle.
Yes.
And I'm sure we can do it.
Jeez.
All right, town council comments? Alan?
Yeah, just, again, just thanks to all the town workers here that have kept our town going and, continue to have the challenges that you face every day with, new things cropping up and responding to them, and we really appreciate it. And also the townspeople up here, really came together, and I'm hoping that they continue to work together and help one another, and that seems to be the case. So thank you very, very much, especially in this time of season. It's going to be nice, and just a reminder that there are some communities around us that aren't quite as fortunate as we are, and we're in very, very cold weather, and they're living in tents or whatever, and anything that, you can do to help those people would be great, and that's all.
Yeah, it is a season to be grateful, and, we're in a position that a lot of other people aren't, so we must be grateful and count our blessings. One thing I want to point out, Daniel Davis is here tonight. I mean, a lot of the day-to-day stuff runs through that man right there. I mean, he just said, we got concrete out on Charter Hills today. I take my hat off to you. You've done a fantastic job, and thank you for coming out. Yeah, so I kind of wish everybody, last meeting before the holidays, a great holiday. And I think this group here has got the town's best interest in mind, and we're going to continue striving forward. Thanks.
Stafford?
Well, it's day 11 of skiing, and there's 101 more to go.
Who's counting?
But who's counting? Like I've said to all my staff that work for me at the resort, everybody be patient with everybody, right? Things are not 100%. Folks that live here full time, some folks are still trying to overcome the disaster, and so I say that to everybody: be patient, and thank you for everybody who's been involved in helping to get us where we're at, so we could be semi-recovered and ready to welcome the visitors here to the town.
Vice Mayor?
As usual, ditto for all of this.
We don't have to go first.
The patience is always, yes. Patience during this time of year is key because, yeah, we want people up here, we want people spending money, but we also want to take care of our local residents and our visitors. I just want to wish everybody Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and 2025 is our rebuild.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank everyone that's served on the committee. We have a small pool to choose from. I think we have great people that are on these committees, but it's a thankless job. But thank you for all those that continue to serve. I wanted to mention Destin Hall. Destin Hall is in North Carolina House of Representatives, and he is in the Caldwell County District, and Destin was just voted in as North Carolina Speaker of the House. It's a very powerful position. He decides what goes on the docket. And I like to say that he and I are friends. So obviously I'm going to use that relationship to benefit the town. And I wish Destin, or Rep Hall, I wish him well with his new role. I think we have a strong council. As I think Art said, we have everyone's best interest at heart. And we are making a lot of progress. We have a long ways to go. I think our work it will never be finished, but I think Beach Mountain today is much better than what it was a year ago, 3 years ago, and 5 years ago. And the results speak for themselves. I was at a meeting at Appalachian this morning, and someone said they made a visit to Beach Mountain several weeks ago, and they said it had been several years since they've been up here. And they said the mountain has had a facelift. And that was one of the topics that Chief Buddy and I had 5, 6, 7 years ago. The mountain looks old. It needs a facelift. And it was ironically,
Natural.
the lady that I was speaking with today was like, Beach Mountain has got to have a facelift. So, and I take pride in it. I know everyone here takes pride in it as well. Okay, so saying that, we will adjourn the meeting.